behaviors where the individual avoids these places altogether, potentially becoming housebound in severe cases. The anxiety experienced in agoraphobia is often related to fear of having a panic attack or other overwhelming symptoms in these situations. For some, the thought of losing control or embarrassing themselves in public is a major source of distress. Agoraphobia typically develops in late adolescence or early adulthood and may occur alongside panic disorder, though it can also occur on its own. CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, is a psychological condition that results from prolonged or repeated exposure to traumatic events, especially those that occur in situations where escape or help is difficult, such as childhood abuse, domestic violence, or captivity. Unlike standard PTSD, which often develops from a single traumatic event, CPTSD arises from chronic trauma over an extended period of time. People with CPTSD may experience symptoms similar to those of PTSD, including flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, and emotional numbness. However, CPTSD also includes additional symptoms such as difficulty regulating emotions, a deep sense of shame or guilt, and feelings of being permanently damaged. Individuals may struggle with relationships, have trouble trusting others, or feel a persistent sense of hopelessness and/or despair. CPTSD can severely impact self-identity, leading to a fragmented sense of self or feeling disconnected from one's emotions and body. Many people with PTSD also experience this dissociation, where they feel detached from reality as a way to cope with overwhelming stress. Dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is a learning disorder that affects a person's ability to write, making the process of writing very difficult and often frustrating. It can impact handwriting, spelling, organizing thoughts on paper, and the physical act of writing. People with dysgraphia may have messy or ineligible handwriting, struggle with spelling and punctuation, and find it hard to organize their thoughts in writing. They may also experience difficulty in taking notes quickly or writing under time constraints. Dysgraphia can occur alongside other learning abilities like ADHD or dyslexia, but it is primarily a motor-based issue that relates to difficulties in the fine motor skills needed for writing. Some people with dysgraphia may also have problems with planning and organizing their ideas when writing essays or reports. The cause of dysgraphia is not always clear, but it is believed to stem from neurological factors that affect the brain's ability to process and express written language. It often starts in childhood, especially when a child struggles to meet writing milestones in school. Exploding head syndrome. Exploding head syndrome is a rare and poorly understood sleep disorder that involves hearing loud, imagined noises or feeling a sensation of a bang or explosion inside the head while falling asleep or waking up. Despite its name, there is no actual physical pain or harm to the head. The sounds experienced by individuals are not real. They are purely hallucinations, though they can feel very vivid and startling. The sounds associated with EHS can vary and may include loud bangs, crashing noises, or other startling sounds. People often describe the experience as feeling like a gunshot, a bomb exploding, or a loud electrical noise. While the sounds can be frightening, they are not typically linked to any underlying physical issue like brain damage or hearing problems. EHS usually occurs during transitions between sleep stages, such as just drifting off to sleep or waking up. It can happen to individuals who are otherwise healthy. It is not considered harmful, but the experience can lead to sleep disturbances or anxiety about falling asleep. Dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is a specific learning disorder that affects a person's ability to understand and work with numbers. Individuals with dyscalculia may struggle with basic math concepts such as counting, understanding number patterns, performing calculations and grasping mathematical reasoning. This can take many tasks like telling time, managing money, or solving simple arithmetic problems very challenging. People with dyscalculia often experience difficulties with tasks that involve working, memory, spatial reasoning, and math fluency. For example, they may have trouble remembering math facts, understanding world problems, or applying mathematical concepts in real-life situations. Dyscalculia is not related to a person's intelligence. Many individuals with this disorder are actually very highly intelligent but have difficulty in math due to the neurological differences in how they process numbers. Shell shock. Shell shock is a term that originated during World War I to describe a psychological condition experienced by soldiers who were exposed to the constant barrage of artillery fire and combat stress. The term was used to explain the physical and mental symptoms that soldiers exhibited, such as tremors, confusion, nightmares, disorientation, and an inability to function normally. It was believed that these symptoms were caused by the concussive force of artillery shells, hence the name shell shock. At the time, shell shock was seen as a physical injury caused by the impact of explosions, but as medical understanding evolved, it became clear that these symptoms were more related to the mental and emotional toll of war. Today, shell shock is recognized as a precursor to what is now called PTSD. PTSD, as we talked about before, includes a range of psychological symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, and emotional numbness, which can develop after experiencing severe trauma, such as war. Pyromania. Pyromania is a rare and serious mental health disorder characterized by the compulsion to set fires deliberately and repeatedly. People with pyromania experience intense, uncontrollable urges to start fires, often for the pleasure or relief they feel from watching the flames or from the excitement of the act. Unlike arson, which is typically motivated by external goals such as financial gain or revenge, pyromania is driven by just a psychological need or craving to engage in fire-setting behavior. The key features of pyromania usually include a strong and persistent urge to set fires, tension or arousal before starting a fire, and pleasure, relief, or satisfaction after the act of setting a fire, and no obvious personal gain, such as financial, revenge, or political motives. While the exact cause of pyromania is not fully understood, it is often linked to other mental health disorders such as mood disorders, impulsive control disorders, or other forms of compulsive behavior. Stress, anxiety, or traumatic experiences may also contribute to the development of this disorder. ARFID, otherwise known as Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, is a feeding and eating disorder characterized by a limited intake of food, which is not due to a lack of appetite, but rather due to sensory sensitivities, specific food aversions, or extreme picky eating. People with ARFID may have a limited range of foods they are willing to eat, avoid eating in social settings, and may exhibit extreme emotional or physical reactions to certain foods. This disorder goes beyond typical picky eating and can lead to a significant nutritional deficiencies, weight loss, and problems with growth or development in children. Unlike anorexia nervosa or bulimia nervosa, ARFID does not involve a preoccupation with body image or a fear of gaining weight. Instead, this focus is on the avoidance or restriction of food for reasons such as sensory issues, which is like texture, taste, smell, fear of choking or vomiting, or a lack of interest in food altogether. ARFID can have some serious health consequences, including malnutrition, vitamin deficiencies, and impaired social or emotional functioning due to the difficulties in presence in meal setting. Treatment typically involves a multidisciplinary approach, including cognitive behavioral therapy focused on food-related fears, as well as nutritional counseling and occupational therapy for addressing sensory sensitivities. Kleptomania. Kleptomania is a mental health disorder characterized by a compulsive urge to steal items that are not needed for personal use or financial gain. So you literally just steal to steal, not for any sort of monetary benefit. People with kleptomania often experience a strong, uncontrollable urge to steal, even though they may feel guilty, anxious, or ashamed afterwards. The act of stealing may provide temporary relief or a sense of some sort of satisfaction, but it is followed by regret or distress. Kleptomania is classified as an impulse control disorder, which means individuals with the condition struggle to control their impulses, despite knowing that stealing is wrong and harmful. Unlike typical theft, which might be motivated by external reasons such as a need or desire for profit, kleptomania is driven by internal urges or psychological factors. Common features for kleptomania include a recurrent inability to resist the urge to steal, tension or anxiety leading up to the theft, a sense of relief, pleasure, or gratification after committing the act, and feelings of guilt, remorse, or shame after the theft, but an inability to stop. The exact cause of kleptomania is not understood, but it is believed to be related to some sort of combination of biological, psychological, and overall environmental factors, such as imbalances in brain chemicals or some sort of trauma. Alright, let's get into Tier 5. Madonna Whore Complex. The Madonna Whore Complex is a psychological concept that refers to the distorted view of women where a man categorizes women into two extreme and conflicting roles. The Madonna, the pure, virtuous, nurturing figure, and the whore, the promiscuous, sexually available figure. This complex typically stems from deep-rooted issues in a person's relationships, often with their mother or primary female caregiver, and can significantly impact romantic and sexual relationships in adulthood. Men with the Madonna Whore Complex may struggle to view women as whole, complex individuals. They may place women they are romantically involved in with one of these two categories, leading to difficulties in forming healthy, balanced relationships. For instance, they may idealize their partners as Madonnas, seeing them as angelic or perfect, but then devalue or reject them once they express sexual desire or behave in a way that contradicts this idealized image. Conversely, if they view women as a whore, they may disassociate emotionally or struggle with feelings of guilt or shame around intimacy. The complex often arises from unresolved conflicts related to sexuality, power, and control, as well as early life experiences or parental dynamics. Schizoid PD. Schizoid personality disorder, otherwise known as SPD, is a personality disorder characterized by a pervasive pattern of social detachment, limited emotional expression, and a preference for solitary activities. People with schizoid personality disorder typically appear indifferent to forming close relationships, even with family members, and often lack the desire for intimacy. They may seem aloof, emotionally cold, and unresponsive to social cues. Key traits of SPD do include a lack of interest in social or personal relationships, including close family ties, preference for solitary activities or hobbies that don't require interaction with others, emotional coldness or flattened affect, limited emotional expression, difficulty expressing emotions or experiencing pleasure in everyday activities, limited desire for sexual experiences with others, indifference to praise or criticism from others. While individuals with schizoid personality disorder often prefer solitude, this does not necessarily mean they are experiencing distress from their lack of social connections. In fact, many people with SPD feel content with their isolated lifestyles and may not perceive their behaviors as problematic. The cause of SPD is not understood, but it may be linked to genetic factors, early childhood experiences, or an underlying temperament that predisposes individuals to social withdrawal. Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon where hostages or victims of kidnapping develop positive feelings, empathy, or even loyalty towards their captors, sometimes to the point of defending or aligning with them. This bond can form as a coping mechanism during stressful and traumatic situations, as victims may begin to rely on their captors for basic survival needs and protection. Over time, the victim may perceive the captor's actions as being less harmful or even caring, despite the danger or abuse involved. The term Stockholm Syndrome was first coined after a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden in 1973, during which hostages were held for 6 days. After their release, some of the hostages were found to have formed attachments to their captors, even defending them against the police. The syndrome can occur in various situations, including abusive relationships, cults, or situations involving long-term coercion or manipulation. The exact causes of Stockholm Syndrome are not well understood, but several factors may contribute to its development, including a power imbalance, which means the victim feels completely dependent on the captor for safety or survival. Trauma bonding, the victim experiences moments of kindness or perceived care from the captor, which can create a complex emotional bond. And cognitive dissonance, the victim may experience conflicting feelings, wanting to survive while also grappling with the morality of the situation. Treatment for Stockholm Syndrome typically involves psychotherapy to help the victim process the trauma, rebuild a sense of agency, and overcome the complex emotions associated with the captor. Schizotypal PD. Schizotypal personality disorder is a mental health condition that is characterized by odd or eccentric behaviors, unusual beliefs, and difficulties in forming close relationships. People with STPD often have a distorted perception of reality and may appear different to others, though they typically do not experience full-blown psychosis as seen in schizophrenia. Key features of STPD include unusual beliefs or magical thinking. Individuals may hold superstitions or believe in paranormal phenomena. Odd thinking and speech. Their conversations may seem strange or tangential, and they might have trouble staying on topic. Social discomfort. There's often a lack of interest in or difficulty with forming close relationships, leading to social isolation. Suspiciousness or paranoia. People with STPD may be overly suspicious of others' intentions or believe others are plotting against them without evidence. Eccentric behavior or appearance. Their style of dress, grooming, or mannerisms may be unconventional. STPD is often treated with therapy, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, to help individuals manage symptoms and improve social functioning. God complex. A God complex refers to an individual's exaggerated sense of their own importance, abilities, or power, often leading them to believe they are invincible, infallible, or superior to others. People with a God complex may display an inflated ego, entitlement, and a lack of regard for others' opinions or feelings. They might act as though they are above the rules or laws that govern others. They may expect special treatment or admiration. Key traits of a God complex include an excessive self-confidence. The person may believe they are capable of anything and that they can control or manipulate situations or people. It's also a disregard for others. They might see themselves as above criticism and dismiss the needs, feelings, or wants or opinions of those around them. Control or dominance. They may have a need to control people or situations, believing they are the only ones who can make the right decisions. Lack of empathy. There is often a profound lack of understanding or concern for how their actions affect others. While the God complex is not a form or psychological disorder, it can be associated with other conditions like narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder. Histrionic PD. Histrionic personality disorder is a mental health condition characterized by a pervasive need to seek attention, combined with excessive emotionality and a tendency to act in dramatic or theatric ways. Individuals with HPD often feel uncontrollable when they are not the center of attention and will go to great lengths to ensure they are. Their emotion expressions are often exaggerated, shifting rapidly, and may appear shallow or insincere. They frequently use their appearance, flirtation, or seductive behavior to gain attention, even in just inappropriate situations. These individuals often struggle with forming deep, lasting relationships as their interactions are driven by the need for validation and admiration. The disorder is often rooted in childhood experiences such as a lack of attention or encouragement, leading to a lifelong craving for approval. People with HPD are typically easily influenced by others, as they may have difficulty forming their own opinions. Their speech is often colorful and dramatic, as they may embellish stories to make them more engaging or to draw attention. Treatment for HPD generally involves psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, to help individuals become more aware of their patterns and develop healthier ways of relating to others. Medications may also be prescribed to manage co-occurring symptoms like anxiety or depression. Mass hysteria. Mass hysteria, also known as collective hysteria or mass psychogenic illness, occurs when a group of people experiences shared symptoms or irrational behaviors, often without any sort of identifiable physical cause. This phenomenon typically spreads through social influence, where individuals in a group begin to exhibit similar emotion or physical symptoms after hearing or observing others doing the same. It is often marked by widespread panic, fear, or distress, leading people to believe they are suffering from a shared illness or danger, even if no medical explanation exists. The symptoms of mass hysteria can vary, but many include physical complaints such as dizziness, nausea, fainting, or tremors, along with psychological symptoms like anxiety, paranoia, or confusion. In some cases, these symptoms can become more severe as they spread through the group, creating a cycle of increasing fear and anxiety. Mass hysteria can occur in schools, workplaces, or communities, often triggered by stressful events, rumors, or even environmental factors like exposure to a strange odor or sound. While mass hysteria can be alarming, it typically dissipates once the individuals involved are reassured and the underlying fear is addressed.